Well, hello everyone. Welcome to
Hello,
Coffee with the Missionary.
missionary.
We are so excited to have another interview tonight, another conversation, and we look forward to everyone joining in. Coffee with the Missionary. We're doing it now on the first and third Thursdays of every month. So as people log on here, we're excited to have them join us for this conversation.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, so for the next couple months, the LAC unit is going to be focusing on this theme of letting go. So we've been writing some blog posts about it. We're going to invite our missionaries to speak a little bit to it. If you're following the social media site, you'll be able to just see more posts about it. And just this idea of what it means to let go in connection with missions. So stay tuned.
Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are here with Coffee with the Missionary. And tonight we're really, really excited. We have a guest, Becca Whittaker. And Becca Whittaker is an MA headed to Uruguay. She is
Uruguay.
right now, Uruguay. Yes, thank you. Right now she's in Costa Rica. So without further ado, we're going to have her join the viewing here. Hi, Becca.
Hey, Becca.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here and for taking time to just share a little bit about your life and what God's doing in and through you.
Absolutely. I'm so excited.
This is a treat for us, and we're really excited to talk to you about missions, talk to you about normal life or daily life, I guess. There's no such thing as normal life on the mission field. But if you are just joining us, welcome to Coffee with the Missionary. Would you comment where you're watching from? We'd love to hear from you. And throughout the live video, we invite you to just share your questions, your comments, and Becca would love to answer them, talking about what life is like on the mission field. So while we start, I guess, why don't you just introduce yourself, Becca, kind of share a little bit about who you are and where you find yourself now.
For sure. So my name is Becca, and I'm from Florida, and I'm 22 years old, and I'm a missionary going to Uruguay. And I'm super excited about this opportunity. It's my first missionary associate term, and God has just shown himself so faithful, even so far in the little things. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about me. I graduated from Southeastern last December with a degree in organizational leadership, and I minored in missions. So yeah, I'm kind of like fresh off the boat and kind of still on it at the same time. So.
All right. Well, Dwayne
Awesome.
Martin, fellow missionary in Mexico. Hi, Dwayne. Thanks for tuning in again. He says that you missed the call of God. You're supposed to be in Mexico, so
It's
wow.
true. I mean, we can't argue with that.
We really can't argue.
We
with
can't, yeah. So Becca, you're in Costa Rica. You're supposed to be in Uruguay. So what's that all about?
So right now, I'm doing the important task of learning Spanish because it'd be kind of hard to minister if you don't know the language. So that's why I'm here. I'm here until February 1st, until I finally get to go to Uruguay.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's amazing. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Becca Whittaker. She's an MA, missionary associate, going to Uruguay, but right now she is in Costa Rica. So thank you for joining us, everyone. We encourage you to comment where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And we love for your comments and feedback as we talk with Becca. And she's going to share her experiences about life on the mission field and what she's learned. So as Mel explained, yeah, go ahead. As Mel explained at the beginning, the theme for this fall for all of LAC is letting go. And what a better topic to start with. So Becca, why don't you describe what you've had to let go as you've transitioned to the mission field? You've been there 2 months now.
Wow. Okay. So when you first start out in this process, you don't really like envision like the letting go. Like you're walking into something completely new. For me, it was a calling that I'd been asking of God for such a long time. So it was so exciting to finally like enter into this process. But the closer I got to getting to CINCEL and being able to go to Uruguay, the more you start to realize what you are letting go of. A couple of things, like your life with your family is never going to be the same as it was before. Me and my friends kind of, the way it feels, it's almost like a grieving process. You're losing the life that you had before, but in turn, you're gaining the most like incredible life like I could ever imagine. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything. But you do have to let go of sometimes relationships, ideas, you know, like you got to let go of your plans, because I'm very type A and that does not fly here. Like, so I have to kind of let go of my desires and my wants at sometimes, you know, letting go of independence in a way, not knowing the language is really difficult, having to plan out every conversation.
Yeah. Wow.
You lose a little independence and you start to feel like a little kid again. So that's an interesting thing. And you got to let go of your pride. So that's where that comes in.
So is there anything that you haven't let go of? Because I feel like you've covered all of the bases. You're like, I don't even have anything anymore.
Sometimes I pick it back up and I got to drop it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, we want to talk some more about that and more about letting go. Debbie Whittaker, it seems like you know her. Hi, Debbie.
She's like a mother to me.
She says, love you, Mom. And Cicely Rosario, hi from Chicago. Thank you so much for tuning in, Cicely. And I love what you said about letting go. So many good points that you made and different things that you've had to let go. But as you've described that, you know, what is that process like? You said you described it kind of like grieving, in a little bit. I thought that was interesting. How do you learn to grieve? And I guess this is a little deep, but how do you learn to grieve over something like that?
Well, the Lord has really blessed me with a couple really great friends. Like everyone at CINCEL is like family to me, but a couple in particular, like it's just been such a blessing having them by my side, and being able to go through them with that. You first start to discover this at pre-field orientation. These people understand you like you didn't even know that you could be understood. You didn't even know you were being misunderstood. You didn't feel that, but there's like such a deep connection between missionaries, missionary associates, and people who do work like this. So God has really blessed me with some awesome people to help me through this process. One thing I've had to learn is that you have to let yourself feel it sometimes. I'm one that I kind of just like to sweep it away, like, oh, I'm not sad, I'm not homesick, like we're doing good, we're on the mission field, we've been doing this for a year and we're finally here, so it's great. But in reality, the months leading up to here, even through financial clearance and all that, which is such an awesome time, like that's such a huge milestone in this process, it was bittersweet, and kind of more bitter than it was sweet, just because I first began to realize, you know, you're actually leaving, you're getting on a plane in a few months, so what are you going to do about that? So just letting myself feel those emotions, but not wallowing in it. Having that accountability with other friends too. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Like just having people that you can do that and who aren't going to judge you for it, you know? So that's been such an important part of this. But I think my biggest takeaway is leaning into God instead of away through it. Like a part of you can choose to fall back and be like, you know, I'm kind of hurting right now. I don't want to do it right now, God. But the verse, you know, my grace is sufficient for you because my power is made perfect in weakness, has kind of been my anthem lately. But even through this grieving process, there's come such great joy, such intimacy with the Father. So it's not all like, oh, it sucks all the time. No, it's not like that. But you definitely go through those stages, and that's perfectly normal.
Yeah. No, I think that's cool. Just allowing, like what you said, just allowing the freedom of, you know, that's something that everyone I feel like can touch on. Like there's something that you're looking forward to, there's something that you know that God's called you to, and you're excited about it. But there are going to be moments where you don't enjoy it, and you're allowed to have both of them coexist. Yeah. Which I feel like is huge in the letting go process, because letting go of something that you've dreamed about, and you're actually, I don't know, it's just like so convoluted sometimes, like it gets all mushy. And sometimes you're like, I don't want to complain because I'm happy I'm going. Like there's no part of you that's regretting it, but it's still really hard, you know? And that's where I, you know, like you just said, like Jesus just shows up, because he's like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking about. This is the power and weakness. And you're literally living that every single day.
Yeah. Yeah, before we continue with this, because this is incredible stuff. Thank you so much, Becca, and for being with us. If you're just joining us live or you're watching on the replay, we're talking with Becca Whittaker. She is an MA missionary associate headed to Uruguay. Right now, she's in Costa Rica learning language. I want to say welcome to Lisa.
Not just any language, Spanish.
I want to say hi to Lisa Caldwell-Mencken. She says, I'm an MA MK from Uruguay. So
awesome.
Thank you so much for tuning in, Lisa. We would love to comment. Why don't you comment about things about Uruguay? We'd love to hear it, Lisa. Also, she says Uruguay is awesome. Also, Tiffany Elizabeth Armstrong says we say hello from Nelvin's Nook.
Nevin's Nook is our patio at CINCEL.
Oh man! All right, fellow missionaries joining in. I love it. And Dwayne Martin has a great question. Thank you, Dwayne, for your question. We'll get to this letter later. He says, "How have you adjusted to culture shock?" So we'll get to that later. But we want to kind of get in the nitty gritty of language school. You're in Costa Rica, a beautiful country.
Yes.
Mel's been there and been through the language school process, but you've been there 2 months now. So kind of describe for us, what is a day like at language school?
Well, for me, it usually starts with waking up late and then running to class at 8:15. So we start class at 8:15 most days, except 2 days a week we have English chapel. We call it abiding time, which is super incredible. So Tuesday and Friday, we have chapel at 7:30. And it's just a time where we can come and pray. There's a time of worship and a short
in
devotion.
the morning?
7:30 a.m. Yeah, but it's like 2 minutes walking distance, so it's not always too bad, you know?
Yeah.
So we do that, and class always starts at 8:15. You have 3 classes in a day. My first class is phonetics, which is super interesting because you have to do a bunch of weird stuff with your face. You try not to make eye contact while doing it.
All right,
Can you give us an example?
Exactly.
We're going to need more than that.
You know that's going to happen.
You know what? Here's the thing. We'll do it with you.
Okay.
At least
So
I will.
first you have to just stick out your tongue like this. Yeah. So then you do that, and then you open your mouth like this. Just, I feel like a T-Rex when I do it. And then you just smile really big and make like a kiss, like.
Okay, getting those, working that face.
Gotta work out your face and mouth muscles.
Now, does that help?
Yeah, I find that it really does help.
Are you just saying that because you're nervous someone's watching?
No, I'm sure they're not watching. But it really does help. It feels super weird, and you hope no one's looking at you while you're doing it. But it does help.
Now 10 people just saw you. Just saying.
That's all right. They're all friends.
And you roll your R's?
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not.
Hey.
But yeah, I think I do pretty okay in phonetics, so I really like the class. And then after that, we have grammar, just learning, sentence structure and verbs and all that. And after that, we have 2 hours of conversation, which I really love.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's intense. I'm sure that allows you to explore everything you possibly know about Spanish.
Yeah.
Have you had any background in Spanish before language school?
I took 2 years in high school.
Okay. Do you find that helps?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
And like on other mission trips I had been on before I came here, some of my friends, the A-bars, hey, if you're watching, they really helped me with my Spanish. So
cool.
Wow. So we have a question off of Instagram. So if you're watching,
that's where this came from.
Yeah. So if you're tuning in here, LAC has an Instagram as well that they update, which is awesome. And so we announced Coffee with a Missionary, asked for questions, and so this comes from Instagram, and it says, "Do you like your roomie?"
She's all right. I'm sure she got that question. Yes, I love her.
I hope she wrote that question.
She's the best.
Aww.
And she makes me like Alabama, the football team. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you have a roommate.
Yes.
Just 2 of you?
Well, all the single ladies live in the same house. So there's 8 of us in total. No one has to share the same room. We all kind of like share a bathroom in between, but we all have our separate rooms. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a mini dorm, I guess.
Yeah. I think it used to be a house, but it's like a dorm.
Cool.
Okay. And then so that's right on the CINCEL, the language school campus?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Wow, so that's walking distance. They have a cafeteria there, or do you have to find your own food?
Nope, I cook. So.
Those.
So this is great cooking. Have you been able to cook things you would normally cook in the US, find the same ingredients?
I feel kind of like MacGyver because you don't really have the same kind of ingredients that you do in the US. So you just kind of end up throwing stuff together. I've made a lot of casserole and a lot of chicken curry. So
Chicken curry?
yeah.
Are you putting Lozano sauce on that too?
Ew, no, that'd be gross.
To say, girl, you are pure Tika at that point.
Now.
But while we're on the subject of food, you mentioned before we went live here that you had a favorite restaurant that you found so far in Costa Rica. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
I really love the tortilleria because they have this like tortilla that's like filled with cheese, and when you pull it apart, it's like a mozzarella stick, and
It just
it's
gets better.
so good. Yes, and it has like this rice dish on top called gallo pinto, and plantains, and an egg, and something else. But it's really good, and then you just douse it in Lozano sauce, and it's amazing. Also,
and is it cheap? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, it's pretty cheap. It's big enough for me and my friend to split, so it ends up being pretty affordable. And then across the street, there's a restaurant that all the missionaries go to called Las Lanitas, and they have the best chicken everything. So,
where did you go to this place?
I don't remember that one. No.
All right, wonderful.
It's awesome. All right.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in live. We're talking with Becca Whittaker, and we are going to have a special treat a little later on. Becca is going to sing for us. She has just a gorgeous voice. You have to stick around about 10 minutes or so. She's going to sing for us. You won't be disappointed that you did.
Listen, I don't throw out compliments lightly. Noah can tell you that. I'm pretty honest. She's got a beautiful voice. You'll want to stay around.
You'll want to stay around. So now, Dwayne, we're going to get to your question. Dwayne, he asked, and Dwayne is a missionary. He and his wife and family are missionaries in Mexico, in Querétaro. Incredible people. And so he's been through CINCEL. He's experienced that. And I'm sure, Dwayne, you could share a little bit as well. But yeah, Becca, so far, how have you adjusted to culture shock?
I think I'm handling it pretty well. There's a couple weeks there that I would just cry for no reason, and that was really weird for everyone involved. But I think we're out of that stage now. There's a part of culture shock in which you start kind of like rejecting your home culture a little bit, but then like you kind of swing around the other way and kind of meet in the middle. I feel like I'm going through that a little bit because when I see other gringos, I'm just like, oh, you're just a bunch of tourists. I'm like, have you looked in the mirror lately? You do not look like a Tika. But I think that's kind of like about where I am, but we're coming back towards the happy medium in the middle. But yeah, the crying thing was really weird, but I don't want to go through that again.
Are you not much of a crier normally?
Oh, I am. I'm just an ugly crier. I don't like people for being around when that happens.
You go for it. You don't mess around. You just go for it.
Oh, for sure.
So now, what in regards? I mean, culture shock can mean so many different things. So for you, what's been probably the hardest adjustment moving from Florida to Costa Rica?
Well, first of all, none of us have a car. So when you first get here, you don't really know Spanish too well. Like I thought I did, but I really didn't. Like I couldn't really communicate anything. So even just getting in an Uber and awkwardly sitting there silently, waiting just to get to where you're going. Walmart was a big shock, which was really weird because nothing looks like it did in the States. It's a place where you feel like you should know what you're doing, like you have a handle on it, but in reality, you don't. I think the first time I went to Walmart, I was asking one of the ladies in the store what her favorite bread was because I've never seen any of these breads before. And I think I actually said, "You're my favorite bread." And she just kind of smiled and like pointed to one. And I was like,
"You are my favorite bread."
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad that you're not embarrassed to share that because that is funny. And
Gotta learn to laugh at yourself. If you can't do that, you need to learn to.
Amen.
And from another one from Instagram, going right off of that, they asked, what is the biggest cultural mistake that you've made so far?
Cultural mistake.
This isn't exactly cultural. It's more just me being clumsy. But we were on a bus.
What?
Clumsy.
Oh, clumsy. I thought you said concy. I was going to ask about that.
Like bougie?
No.
Okay, sorry.
But we were getting off a bus one time, and I missed the step, and I fell on this row of people at night, and it was really awkward. But
was that one where you cried a lot that day?
No.
Okay, well, that's good.
I turned into the flying gringa for a quick second. So that was interesting. But culturally, like, one thing that I've had to get used to is, like, Costa Ricans are very, like, careful with their, like, belongings, which is awesome. But, like even the paper towel dispenser in the bathroom, you don't, like, Americans used to go like trying to get all this paper towel out, but they're like tranquila. They're always saying, like, you know, calm down, like, and you're like, okay, I gotta calm down. Never slam a car door. That's really bad. Like, even if you don't think it's a slam, it probably is. So just try to close it gently.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just messing up in the language here and there. It's been a great ride.
Yeah. Well, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Becca Whittaker. She is a missionary associate. She is headed to Uruguay, and we're going to talk about why Uruguay in just a second. But if you're tuning in live, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on the replay, we're so glad that you're tuning in. And feel free to leave a comment, leave a question. We'd love to respond to that. Becca would. Also, in about 5 minutes or less, Becca has a special song that she's going to share. She's going to be singing, and you don't want to miss that. Just an incredible. Thank you, Becca, for being willing to do that.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm going to ask the question we're all thinking. Why Uruguay?
Well, it's a little bit of an interesting story. So back in 2014, right before I started at Southeastern, I went on a short-term trip to Uruguay. In all honesty, I was not focused one little bit. I was just kind of focused on the end of the week when I could move into my dorm at Southeastern for my freshman year. But towards the end of my time there, the missionary sat me down and we're like, you know, we'd love to have you back next summer, or just to serve a summer if you'd like to. And I was like, what? I was like, you think I'd be good at something like this? And they're like, yeah, you should come and try it out. And I was like, okay, I'll pray about it. And did I pray about it? No, because that is not what I wanted to do with my life. I was actually going to school to be a nurse at the time, but God just totally changed my trajectory after that point. So I had that in the back of my mind for a few years, and it wasn't until a short-term trip to Nicaragua that God just opened my heart to missions, and that's really where I began praying for God to call me to it. That was 2016 during the summer, and by November of that year, the Lord had confirmed the call. So the day that he confirmed the call was a Saturday, and by Thursday, I knew Uruguay. And how I knew it was really interesting. So I knew I still had this open door, and I love Latin America. Like, I'd be willing to go pretty much anywhere. Mm-hmm. But I was just telling God, you know, like, you've called me this far, but I want you to be in it. You know, take the wheel. Like, this is your show, not mine. So I was out studying on one of the lawns at Southeastern and just doing some homework, reading a book. And I was like, kind of bored, to be honest. I was like, not about this book. It was kind of boring. And I decided just to start praying about it because obviously this was a huge step in my life at this point to enter into missions. And I was like, you know, God, you called me, but where do you want me to go? And 2 lines down after I prayed that, it said Montevideo, Uruguay in the book that I was reading. And it was just too much of a coincidence to be true. So I was like, okay, God, like, this is what we're doing. And, you know, every single door has just opened itself up since that point. So that's kind of how Uruguay happened.
What are you going to be doing in Uruguay?
University ministry. Our team is actually going to be launching Redu for the first time in Uruguay. So it's
and what's that?
It's Red Universitaria. It's the college ministry in Latin America, Caribbean.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
for
It's
on the
exciting.
screen here is a map of South America, and you can see Uruguay there.
It's a teensy
That
tiny little country.
teeny
It
tiny
really
little
is.
country.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome, right on the shore there. And Uruguay is very atheistic. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And I know it's been said that it's the graveyard of Latin American missions,
Yeah.
and very difficult place. And so it's so exciting that you're going there. You know that you are taking the step. And hey, you know, isn't it amazing that God would call a 22-year-old who wasn't expecting it, you know, call her there, and who knows what God's going to do through you and in you. And I just feel right now, if you're watching this or if you're watching on a replay, just be encouraged by Becca that it's just a small step of faith. That's all it is. Missions can seem like this giant thing, can seem like this thing that you have no concept of. But just each little step of faith, you know, is what it takes, and God just builds upon that and uses you. End up finding yourself, how in the world did I get here? And God's using you. Absolutely.
It just stuck out to me that as you were talking, you know, you said that you went on this short-term missions trip after high school, but you were like, I know you went on a missions trip and you're like, this is just not what I want to do with my life. Yet you continue to go on missions trips, which I love, you know, but what was there just something that always drew you to missions trips? Like, just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Well, growing up, I grew up in Christian school. So I grew up hearing stories like Amy Carmichael, and other missionaries, like famous, renowned missionaries. And I always thought it was super cool, but it wasn't until I was 17 that I went on my first one. And I guess in the back of my head, I'd always wanted to, like, I thought it'd be cool, but it always seemed something out of my reach. You know, like, oh, I could never do that. Like, I was always the shy, you know, timid girl. Like, I was like, oh, the background kind of person. Like, I wasn't, oh, let's go to a different country. Like, I didn't even want to leave my house. Like, that's where I was. But I think the change really came when, as I was in Nicaragua, God just began changing my heart and who I was. And I loved the change that was happening. There was such a closeness and intimacy with Jesus that I felt during that time. It just felt like I was holding his hand and we were taking on the world together. Like, I can't describe it. It was just like a feeling like perfectly in the center of God's will. And that's nothing that I'd ever felt before. So that's kind of like just what opened my eyes. What really opened my eyes actually was just all like the spiritual warfare going on where I was, because we would see miraculous healings and people delivered, and that was incredible. But like on the opposite end, like right after those things, there'd be like really devastating things happen, like people getting hurt, like stuff happening to their houses, just crazy things. So this back and forth between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of darkness just opened my eyes to the reality of the world that we're living in. How it's not just, oh, what do you want to major in? What do you want to go to school for and have your job? And it's like, no, I want to be a part of this battle because it's worth fighting. So,
well, we can call it quits right there. But that's huge. I just, you know, I don't know. I think Noah and I are just sensing a lot that people that are listening now, like there's just a battle going on too, for, I feel like I'm going to sound so old, young people, but I mean, you're 22, you're fresh out of college, basically a year ago, you're making this huge leap. You are literally letting go of dreams, of the normal dating life, of all of these things to pursue what you just said, like to join the battle, you know? And even too, like, you're like, I'm this shy girl. Like, Jesus isn't interested in changing everything about the little things that he's given you either. Like, he's going to use the shy, timid girl. He's not about making you the obnoxious, loud one, but he is going to empower you and give you the courage that you need to do what he's called you to do. And I can just keep going, and I won't, because you've said enough, but it's just cool. So the end.
Well, now we want to transition. So we'll let you get yourself ready, Becca. But Becca is going to be singing a special song for us. Becca has an incredible voice.
Insane.
And so you will be definitely getting a treat here. And we know that God is going to use you, Becca, in this aspect. And so yeah, we're gonna put Becca by herself here, and go for it, Becca.
Yeah. Just before I start, this song is called "Here Again" by Elevation Worship. And some of the lyrics say, "But I know you're in the middle, is the place where you promised to be. And a lot of times in missionary life, we feel like we're constantly in transition. And sometimes it feels like God is silent in those seasons, but he has promised to be there with us in those seasons, whether we feel it or not. And that's just a promise that I know all of us here at CINCEL have been holding on to. So.
Amen. And Becca, sorry, just put down your volume just a tad, so that we'll be able to hear you real good.
Can't go back to the beginning. Can't control what tomorrow will bring. But I know here in the middle is the place where you promised to be. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Oh, Jesus, you are here. As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear. Like the sun chasing the shadows, in my weakness your glory appears. I'm not enough unless you come. Would you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again? I'm not enough unless you come. Would you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again? Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. I'm not enough unless you come. Would you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again?
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much,
Becca. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, we're coming to the close here of our video. We just have a couple more questions for you from Instagram. It's the first one, and I thought this is a good question. How much time is spent just experiencing a new culture and language, and do vacations exist?
Vacations do exist. My friends and I do little outings every once in a while. Like this weekend, we're gonna go to the beach for a day, and that's really exciting. We also went to see this waterfall out in, I think it was in Alajuela, which is like 2 hours away. So that was really fun. So we have gotten to go out a little bit and experiencing the culture. Like that happens every single day afternoon when class gets out. So as long as you don't hoard yourself in your room and lock yourself away, you're going to experience the culture. Trust me. So it's kind of hard to miss. Yeah.
Wow, awesome. Ricky Hennon says hello. Hi, Ricky. Thanks for tuning in. And Mary Hancock says, I love you and I'm proud of you.
That's my aunt.
All right. All right. Good to have family.
One.
And then looks like the roomies have chimed in here. Sarah says she's a great roomie.
Wife material.
Wife material.
Sarah,
So
we need to lead with that.
if there's any eligible bachelors out here, she sings.
Oh, Lord.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
We have a lot of fun here at CINCEL, if you couldn't tell.
That is so awesome. And looks like we have a bunch of comments coming in here. Aaron says that he lived in Uruguay, loved the country, miss it. So you got a lot of people rooting for you there. Steve Sherwood says the exact opposite of Mexico City. So he's probably talking about Costa Rica there, something. That these comments are coming through way after they actually
Gotcha.
come. But anyway, so great to have it. So the last question that we'll ask here is, and I think this is probably a personal question.
Which one?
This one right here.
Okay.
A personal question from someone on Instagram, but I think it's a really important one.
Yeah. How do I know if I'm being called to ministry?
When God first started calling me into missions, well, I knew before that ministry was something on my heart. I started out as a worship leader in my youth group. How do you know, though? After Nicaragua, I was on a plane and I was sitting next to my pastor. And I was just telling him what I told you guys, like, there's this energy that I was feeling inside. Like, I loved who I was becoming. I loved how God was moving. And he told me when there's energy like that, that's usually the Holy Spirit speaking to you. Another way you can know is that if you see a problem and you think someone should fix it, you're probably the one that needs to fix it or be a part of the solution. And honestly, just through prayer, I've learned through this season that there is such power in prayer. Being away from family and not being able to be there for certain situations, the only other response is through prayer, and that is so powerful, and God does hear it. And I know it's hard waiting on his answer sometimes, but prayer is the way that I was called. Like, just that constant communication back and forth with the Father, you know, like he knows his plan and he wants to reveal it to you. So it's not a matter of him withholding that or, you know, just waiting for you to do something special to get his answer. But yeah, just pray. So that's my advice.
That's excellent advice.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And Becca, we just want to thank you so much for taking your time and for sharing a little bit of your life. And we're excited for you to get to Uruguay, to be involved in college ministry there. And, you know, we know God's going to bless you. So thank you, everyone who watched live. For everyone who's watching on the replay, feel free to comment. And as we leave, how can we specifically be praying for you, Becca?
For me, I would probably say just for continued peace and joy in the season. Like, God has just been revealing that abundantly, and it's been such a blessing. But even through the hard times, even through homesickness and culture shock, just for a constant joy and sense of God's presence. And for the rest of the missionaries here at CINCEL, it's not always easy. So for that, and just protection over my family. I wish I could be there sometimes, but obviously that's not always a possibility. So just for that, so like peace and joy probably are the main ones, and just clarity and hearing God's voice.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Becca. I know I say on behalf of everybody, this was such a fun conversation. It was so enlightening. It was God-oriented, and just I feel like a lot of things were said here tonight that were just really, really impactful. So thank you so much for being willing to share some of your insights, to go live with us, crazy people.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Awesome. And so we will see you all next time on Coffee with a Missionary. And we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that you'll be able to